Okay guys, so as we are all aware that yesterday we had started and covered a major portion of test ng. So basically I have also shared videos. The purpose is that sometimes things are not clear immediately, but if you go back and try and look at the videos, it will really help you out. I also went through the video and there is some background disturbance in that, so I'm trying to find a better recorder so that in future it is better, but at least the voice is clear. I mean, you can hear out the voice clearly, so please make use of that video. And one thing you have to understand as a part of this course, that there will be times when I will be sharing a lot of study material with you. You have to invest time going through it, because test ng we can have more discussion irrespective of that. Until you don't get down to actually trying it, it will not really help. Okay, so like I have talked about parameterization. Now there can be different ways of doing parameterization. We cannot spend like so much time on a particular topic because we have still lot of things to cover. Okay, so the point is this, that as a part of learning, since you are now getting into some sort of a development, you have to remember that a lot of learning you have to do, a lot of R&D you have to do. It is not going to be the usual manual testing where you have some test cases, test plans and all those to be executed. This is going to be a different ball game, in sense that you will be required to learn, innovate, figure out problems, and most important of all is that when an error occurs, just don't say there is a problem. Try to read logs, understand what is the problem that has happened. That will actually help you, because truly this knowledge of test ng will not immediately get you a job until you don't start to work on a live project, which we will do in a short time. We will start working on a project also, but that project I will give you, and by that time we would have covered a course. So if you want, we can continue to have online discussions in the group and all those things, because I think so we are already hitting 2 months now, and I will give you a proper requirement as to what needs to be done for that particular course, particular project. It will involve more or less the entire knowledge of what we have learned so far, so we can as a group participate in that particular project, so our learning keeps happening and we don't fall off the learning process. You can stay in the group even after the course gets over. Like generally I have that Gmail group and WhatsApp group, so be part of it and keep practicing. So to continue from where we left yesterday, I'm sure yesterday a lot of you got confused, in sense that what exactly is the purpose of test ng. I'll revise it again. Okay, but remember one thing, not only you, if it was me also, if I learn some new technology, a lot of things I have learned on my own. Okay, so then in that case what happens, first time I don't understand, second time I don't understand, I have to spend time. It is not that you people came here, I taught you something, and then if you understand what I taught, that is fine. If you don't understand, you don't try. It doesn't work like that. Okay, if you are getting into this automation thing, you will have to do a lot of learning yourself. Okay, so I will once again go through test ng. Today I will not spend as much time as I spent yesterday, but then just a refresher. See, test ng, as I said, is a test next generation framework. It's a framework. Okay, now what does framework do? We know it facilitates certain things which we want to do. All right, now earlier when we were not making use of test ng, what we would do is that we created a main, and then subsequently if we wanted to let's say do testing for some other component, again I would create a main. So it was not a very clean process of doing it, right? Plus, when you write a test case on your local machines, you can execute that main by yourself, right? But when this code gets deployed on the actual environment, that means when the actual testing needs to be done, there are no mains. You don't get to sit in front of a machine and execute it, okay? But instead, if you write the same test cases in TestNG, then what will happen? You could write a script which will automatically run your TestNG test cases. I mean, we can argue that I can also write a script to run my main also, but as we have already seen, main is not a very good way of writing test cases, wherein you have a different class for each test case you want to write, and you can have only one main, okay? And if main fails, exception happens, there are a lot of things you cannot do which we can do with TestNG, okay? So basically some things which we can do is, as I told you, that parallelism is a strength of TestNG, wherein you can execute multiple test cases simultaneously. But even before we come to that, let's say I was trying to automate a page which has a lot of components, okay? Now in order to do that, I could write, let's say let's say I have this particular page. Let me bring up our project. So So basically what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to bring up my application, the first project which I've already shared with you. So as I had told you early on also, that it is not about Selenium, basically it is about programming. I mean, you could we all now know how to program any component, most of the component. We still have to cover a few more things, but now that you know of basically how to automate a particular text box, drop down, blah blah, it was the easiest part, right? I mean, if you can get a web driver, then you can do some either click or select a drop down and all those. So that was not the difficult part. The difficult part or the challenging part is that okay, the challenging part is being a programmer and spending time to learn programming, okay, and rather how to do this thing in a properly organized way, okay. So now that you know TestNG, what if I were to write, I have already given assignment to you for this. So what is the assignment? Assignment was yeah, okay, so let me go to the assignment courses, Selenium assignment. Okay, so this was the assignment. I'll just zoom it so that so verify the number of rows in screen, verify number of columns, verify the color, verify this. Okay, now what I can do is, since I know parallelism, I can also write test cases in such a way that this becomes one class, right? And let's say this or this becomes one class. Each of them can become a class, or rather a class having so many methods. So I can use the concept of parallelism to see whether it actually works. So this is when when you start to do all of this, then you become a programmer. It is not that I have told you theoretically and the output comes, yes, thread ID is coming and it is working as expected. When you implement that logic here, then your learning actually begins, right? And then when you start to do it, to implement here in the assignments that I am giving to you, then you can go back and do it in your own projects. So this is what is the expectation out of you, that now you have enough knowledge to start to play around with anything and everything. There are still a lot of things to come. We'll cover them one by one, but the point here is you have enough knowledge to start to play around. Next project or the last project which we are going to give, that I will not sit and do with you, like I am not doing this one. It is for you to go back and do. Okay, and then again, you have so many things already covered. How best you can use it, we can have a discussion on the group, maybe on a Google group or wherever, and then we can bring forth ideas from everybody of us and make the best possible implementation. Okay, and we will learn as we grow. It is not that since you will be coding first time, it might not be the best way you will do it, but then we'll improve it over a period of time. Okay, so now coming back to TestNG, as I had told you, see, now we have already had one session of TestNG. So now it will make more sense if I just go through this again. I'll look at the second bullet. TestNG is a testing framework that covers different types of test designs like unit test, functional test, end-to-end test, UI test, and integration test. So basically what is this trying to say is that unit test is basically the single test case which you write. Okay, now functional test could be when you are trying to test some kind of a functionality, so you could club a lot of test cases to run simultaneously and achieve a output result to cover a scenario or maybe a functional area or something of that sort. Okay, so similarly then how you tend to use this TestNG is left to you. Okay, so the more you spend time to understand the use of this, the better it gets, and we will see that how we automate all of this. We still have few more things to cover so that it becomes end-to-end automation for you, but we should understand the implementation of TestNG. Then you can run a single or multiple test case. We have seen priorities. Priorities, as we know that we might end up writing test cases here, there, all the way in different files. So how and when a test case should be executed, I mean that options we have. So did any one of you go and try whether you can give a negative priority?
Not negative.
Did you actually try, or you did not even think?
Because yesterday you told us we can give negative. It will be executed.
Okay, I had told you already, fine. So when I started, I didn't know whether I could give. So I also tried. So these things you have to start developing. Okay, then report part we had seen. Okay, so this is a link, I think so I have already sent a link to you for this one, wherein how do you set up. I have already sent. No, okay, fine, I'll send it to you. How to include the TestNG plugin into your Eclipse. Okay, I will send this to you. Then we looked at our first test case. So it starts with at the red test annotation. What is an annotation? Annotation is in a very simple language, it's a piece of code which gives an instruction to do something, and that something in this test case is that execute this method as a test case. Okay, then we tried out this. Then before suit of all this, for all of this, I will send you a documentation. Please read it and start to use it. So if you look at it, just for example, like there is a before method. The annotated method will be run before each test method. Okay, after method is after each method. This is before class, meaning before the class is loaded in the memory. So the annotated method will be run before the first test method in the class current class is invoked. So before even the first is invoked, before all of that, this before class gets called. So these are things you have to learn to basically understand and use it. Then we looked at the demo of priority for Flipkart, Facebook searching on Google. So we saw how alphabetically it was getting executed. Then we looked at, now this was the difficult part for you people. See, for difficulty, what I can say to you is, even I myself will take a baseline file. So what was that? TestNG basic 1. Okay, for this file, basically the difficulty is how do I write this XML. I also had the same problem. Anybody who tried to learn writing in XML had to face this problem. So you have to learn to write it that these two are the lines which are going to be there. This is telling that what is the version of XML, UTF-8 is supported, then what is the doc type. Now this is the important part. Opening suite has a closing suite tag. This is the suite name. This is the number of threads which we looked at. Now verbose is basically when I run this test ng, it can have starting from 1 to 10 maximum. Verbose meaning it means that maximum log generation, meaning that if I make it as maximum number 10, then the output which we see in console will have maximum details. So let's just try to run this one. So let me make it verbose 1 to begin with. Okay, and let's run it. Run as so I maximize this and I go to console. Okay, so you saw only so much output is there. Only this much output is there running, and that the XML file, and I'm Flipkart, I'm Snapdeal, and that's it, right?
And if we don't enter verbose, then what
default value I don't remember, you will have to check.
Default value is taking 1 because I am not using verbose.
Okay, then it will show
only these items. Yes.
Okay, so now if I make it 10, let's see what happens, or let's see I make it 5. Let's directly make, you can try it out. Okay, so I just run this again, test ng. So you will see you have lot of details. So it is giving you lot more details in terms of execution, that running this, how everything is happening. If you put 5, you will get less details. So basically these are the things you have to sit and try. It is not like being in a world of testing where things are as they should be. I'm not saying that testing is not important. Of course it is very important, but in development part you tend to do a lot of things, lot of R&D, lot of hit and trial is there, and then you find the best possible solution for your work which you want to do. Annotations, JDK, basically I'm just saying that I'm making use of annotations. Then parallelism we have already seen. Okay, then here I defined a test case, test 1 and test 2. This test is having classes, so I could have more than one class here, similarly here. Okay, so once you understand one single XML file, then understanding the rest will not be difficult. you have to sit and try it out. That is the only way, that is the only solution. Okay.
Sir, we can have various different types of parameters.
Now, without spending more time, we will move on to more topics. But I have already sent a link to you. It is a very good link. Generally, I refer to this particular site. It has a lot of good examples. So it starts with hello world example. Okay, then how you configure annotation, expected, ignore result, how do you ignore. So there are a lot of a lot of good examples here. And if you want to even dig a little bit deeper, then there is parameterization is there. A lot of things are there which you can have a look at, and it's really very useful tool. And it will have all the working examples. So if I go to this one, this form needs to be updated, which we have already done. Okay, then this is your initially how do you do generation. It shows then how do you do it. Sorry, this is a class which is getting called through test-ng, how it is being used, assertions, how they are getting used. You can refer to this particular website, and it has really good examples. So we will move further ahead. Assertion is basically you have to assert that your expected and actual result are same. That is what. Yes.
It's verification.
Yes, actually a verification. Then only if assertion passes, then only your test case passes. Okay. So parameterization we had already seen. There are different ways of parameterization we can do. One, we saw that we gave priority, and another one is that we can also say enable true false. So for example, I go back to this and spiral priority one. So if you people look at this test case and if we execute this, we will see that this runs first and this runs after that. So these are the parameters, or this is a concept of parameterization in test-ng, wherein you pass some parameters. Okay, now I can say enabled is equal to false. If I do this, then this will not run. I have said that this should not run. So we cannot have all this flexibility when we are making use of main, right? We'll continue then with our next topic for the day, which is we'll start with Apache POI. Okay, what is Apache POI is see, when we are into testing, reports are there. Okay, reports are there, data is there, and I mean you tend to read a lot of information from Excel sheet, you tend to write a lot of information into Excel sheet. Okay, so Apache POI is basically some APIs which is provided by Apache. It's an open source to read and write data from Excel sheet. Alright, so we will just look at how we are going to do that reading writing from Excel sheet. Now again, this is by itself not Selenium. So Selenium is like sort of almost over. Now we are going to look at the tools which along with Selenium makes it a powerful thing. We are going to still cover Maven. I mean, of course there are still things remaining in Selenium which we will cover, that how do you do click, how do you do mouse drop, double click, key press, key up, all those things we will look at, but that's all Selenium is. But Selenium, when it is combined with TestNG, with Apache POI, with lot of other things like Maven, with Jenkins, then you get end-to-end automation. Alright, so let's look at Apache POI today. So in the Excel sheet, let's say I have Excel sheet, I open a simple Excel sheet. I don't know, it's just called POI. Why it is called POI, I don't know. Okay, so see, some of you will have latest version of what you say Excel sheet, some will have older version. So the new ones have extension XLSX, the older one will have XLS, right? Then so this is called a workbook. This particular is called a workbook. Okay, now in that we can have these tabs which are called sheets. Then in that you can have row, alright, and then in the row we can have a cell. Okay, so it boils down to reading data from the cell and writing data back to the cell. So let's look at some program. I will explain it to you and then I'll share it with you so that you can go through it, debug it and understand what is happening. Now I'm not asking you to write this program sitting here because it will take like an hour or two or even more than that. Still we will not be able to do it. So as a automation tester, few things you will have to learn is to understand the existing code, reuse the existing code, all these things you will have to learn, because I have also not written this code. I have taken it from a website which I will share with you, the links I'll share, and then I understood it, reused it and then modified it according to my requirement. Okay, so let's have a look at that piece of code. Okay, so I have created this read Excel demo. I will go to that file. Now you will see these are the file imports. Then there are Apache POI import. How does it come? How can I import that? If I go back and look at my pond.xml, you will see that there is this entry already there for downloading jars of Apache POI. Okay, so with the help of this dependency entry, I have got all my jars downloaded. Okay, now what is the name of the jar? It will be something like POI-OOXML. So if I go and look here, POI, it is here. Alright, so then I come back to my code. So now this code it's just programming, nothing else. It all boils down to programming, as I told you, and that's what we are doing. Now what I am trying to do in this program is I am trying to read data from an Excel sheet. So in this, what I have made use of, it's all Java. I have made use of file input output stream, while loop, and iterator, and switch case. Okay, now you as you are wanting to get into programming, you will have to start to do more code writing and understand what is happening. If you have not used while loop and if you encounter something like this, Google while loop example, understand it, run it, and then come back here. That's how it is supposed to be. Okay, so I have done the imports of the required POI classes. Then my main starts. So I am reading from a file. So I'll create an input stream. Input is basically to read from file. We have covered file already, right? So I create an instance of file, and then I pass that file instance to a XSSF workbook. Okay, so I just showed you this to you. This one was when the file is with this extension. Okay, so now if I have done that, so suppose this was my file, let's say this was my file here. Now once I pass that file as an argument to this constructor XSSF workbook, and I said workbook equal to some that particular file, so this will point to this particular file. What it means is that with the help of this object or this reference, I can do manipulation on the file. I can read on a file or write on a file or whatever I want to do. Okay, so then what I have done, I have created reference to that workbook. Now in that there can be multiple sheets, so I get the zeroth sheet. Now again, how do I know whether these methods are available? There will be documentation available for these APIs. I have to be able to read those documentation. Okay, so in the beginning it starts with looking at a working example and then modifying it in terms of what you want to do. So I got the first sheet here. So basically I will let me open the actual file for you. So this is the actual sheet. Fine. So what we do now, I got the first sheet, which is nothing but I'll close this, which is this one. If I had more, I could have multiple here, right? So this is the zeroth. Now after getting that, then I created an iterator on this. Iterator, you understand iterator? You understand node. Okay, iterator is basically when you start to traverse that particular list and get the result back. And this iterator returns, when I say sheet.iterator, it returns a row array. Row iterator. How do I know this? Again, I have to go back in the documentation and understand it. Okay, now once I have got the row iterator, so basically I am at this particular row. I have got handle to this row, then I'll get this row, then I get this row, then I get this row, right? So row by row I have started to read this file. Then I come inside, I get the first row. This is my first row. Then it says on that row get a cell. So now on that row I have got this cell. Fine. After that, okay, now after the cell, okay, this is cell iterator. I get the cell value and then I check whether if it is numeric, then display the value. If it is string, display the value. So basically what I am doing is first I access this Excel sheet, then this sheet, then I access this row, and on that row I accessed a element. Is it clear? So what I will do, I will give you code for reading and writing Excel sheet. I will let you among 4 of you discuss and talk for 10 minutes maybe to understand. So before actually reading, there is a write Excel sheet also, write Excel demo, which basically creates this Excel sheet which I just showed to you. So this is a write. Alright. So now I have created a map. Map is what? A collection of key value pair, where key is, let's say this, and value is an object array with these values. So it iterates this and writes it into this file. File output stream is to write to the file. Reading is, input stream is to read from the file. So I will share these two examples. First you execute write Excel demo and go to the directory where the project is, and you will see this file is created, how to do it in Java, okay. And then you will see file created, open and see the content, and then we will read back from it. Now again, you might only understand 15, 20 or 50% today, but as I told you, it is about our programming and practicing. This will only get tough when you work on the actual project. Now the problem is this, I will not say problem, or as a part of learning is this, that it's only going to get difficult, but you have to take that route because your jobs are in rest. One thing. Second thing is, world is moving towards automation. Okay, so generally you as a tester, what do you tend to do? You have, of course, you have test plan, test cases, so you take an Excel sheet, sit down in front of a machine and execute it. But being a automation tester, it's a big challenge to implement a certain thing. It's very easy to open a browser manually, and if something gets messed up, you can correct it manually. But those situations, when they happen, when you're doing automation, you have to handle them programmatically also. All those things, once you are able to do successfully, then you become an automation tester. Plus, if let's say an example I will give to you why you should learn automation, leave apart the job part and all that. Suppose tomorrow or 2 or 5 days from now you have a release, and generally the code which comes to tester, it will come on before 2-3 days or 1 week, and they will give you thousands of test cases, execute and do whatever. So you as a manual tester will be like, lag gayi कहते हैं ना, that will be the situation. So you will sit and start executing test cases. Initially you will do it very nicely, then slowly you will start passing, and then it will, a stage will come, this is, I am sure it will work, pass it. It happens. Okay, so if you had automated all of that, of course you would have spent a lot of time and a couple of hours to write automation script. Then all you have to do is execute the script, go home, come back next day and see what passed, what failed. And then if it failed, why it failed, you can investigate that test case, and by looking at the report which I just showed you, there are other things also we will see. So it's basically you are saving time for the company. Okay, so what I'll do now, I'll share this code to you, have a look at it, and then we will continue further. See, basically,
we have to insert the data in.
No, it is not like that. Your data could be any way you want to store it. In this example, it has made use of map. Now, again, as I was telling you, that if you don't understand a certain piece of code, let's say this is a tree map, and how is that tree map traversal happening and all that. So you will go to Google and say how to create tree map, how to traverse tree map, understand the code there, and then come back here. Okay, now this is a learning process. It is going to be steep, it is going to be difficult, but it is going to be worthwhile, because if you have to get into automation, you have to get to know all of this. So if I get stuck here, or for that matter anywhere, I will Google for a separate example, understand it how it works, and then I will come back and then continue to read this code. Okay, is it clear, guys? Ram? So this is the reason I had continuously been telling you, please get a book for Java, read it, because it is not about Selenium actually, it is about Java. So the better you are at programming Java language, the easier it gets. You have seen, I mean, how much Selenium we have done actually. Okay. So with that we will move on to our next topic. And again I am sharing these two links. See, in the case of Excel sheet, I will just share this link to you. I have taken this example also from this link only. Let's say if you guys are feeling that
in that link, whatever you have specified, all the how to identify that rows and what are the abbreviations that they
no, all that will not be explained. See, some places it is, see, it's a combination of knowledge of your Java. So some things I have taken it from somewhere else. I will share that with you. It's not a problem. This piece thing, this you want, right?
Yes.
So I will send this to you. So guys, if you see something which I am using during teaching you people, and if you think you want it from me, let me know. I'll mail it to you. That is not a problem. Okay. My intention is not always to share the entire reading material, because the problem is that you guys will not go by.
too much of subject.
Sorry.
कभी कभी ऐसा हो जाता है रीडिंग मटेरियल जैसे आप भेजते रहते हो हम लोग पढ़ नहीं पाते, तो पेंडिंग हो जाता है।
वो तुम्हें 2 घंटे पढ़ाने के लिए मुझे 4 घंटे तैयारी करनी पड़ती, तुम्हें ये मालूम है? सो इट्स हाउ इट इज। मतलब I have to get the right examples, and I have to get an example which you people will understand. So it's until I was not teaching, I did not teaching is a difficult task. Writing code myself and writing code to explain to you, it's altogether different. Okay, so if you go to this particular link, it has a lot of examples. This is one I showed to you. This 2 of them I shared with you. This one. Now reading from it. Then after that, now using formulas in Excel sheet, you might want to use depending upon your project requirement, or you might want to even do what is that, make certain cells as bold or colored and blah blah. All those things are doable. How you want to do it, how much you want to do it, it's for you to decide how much deep you want to dig into this topic and how much it is useful to you. Maybe you don't want to learn everything today. Learn what you need to read and write, then depending upon how your project needs. Suppose a particular test case file, you want to make it red color, so you can look at a code like this one and decide to whether use it or not use it. So similarly, color alternate rows in different color. So you can do a lot of things, but if we sit and start to do that, then it will become a Apache POI training class. Okay. So with that we will move on to next topic.
जब मैंने फाइल रीड करी तो उसमें टी बीच में हर वर्ड के बाद टी है।
That is because it is there in the code. While doing the system.out.println, there is a T specified. If you remove that, it will not come. So this is, see guys, this is the most important thing for you people to understand. After you have been here for what, around 1.5 months now. So if you cannot find out why T is coming, then it is a problem. Okay, so don't wait for me to find your answers. We will look at next how to handle pop-ups. We have seen alerts already. We will look at pop-ups, and then we will start with building one of our framework called data-driven testing or data-driven framework. Okay, so let's look at pop-up, how it works. Again, I will explain a small piece of code to you and then give you a working code for you people to understand, that you can do at your own time at home. So pop-up. Okay, now pop-up philosophy is different. So let's say when you open a particular URL and you click on some button or do some action, it opens one more page, let's say, for you. So to begin with, when I try to create a Firefox driver, and then inside, after that, when I say driver.get of that URL, what I do is I associate that driver or the variable with the URL so that I can do anything with that particular page with the help of various APIs that are available. So similarly, when a pop-up opens, there must be a driver or some kind of a reference that is associated with that new window that opens. That is the only funda you have to understand. So if this was a window and this opened one more window, and this I am accessing using A, and if this I can access using B, then it's all the same thing, right? That is the only bottom line in handling pop-ups. So let's have a look at this example, how it works. These are all imports. I'm not going to go into the details of that. So okay, now before test is basically a method which is called before any test. So before any test is executed, I open my Firefox instance. Then okay, this should have been alert actually. Okay, fine, no problem. So I have a method. These are parameterization. Okay, now I said driver.get of this. So let's open this. Let me open this URL. So it brings up something like this for me. Now after that, what I am doing, I am maximizing window. This is just an API. How did I know? Google told me, documentation told me that I can maximize, because sometimes the window which opens, it's not full screen, so I can maximize it. Then I said driver.find element by link text, we have already done, and click here and do a click. So I do that. So it brings up a pop-up. Alright, so that we will do programmatically. Then this is the main part. Now driver.get window handle is there. What does it do? If I go back in the documentation and see, it will tell me that it gives me okay, let's actually see and go and see in the documentation what actually it gives to me. So I will go to the documentation. Okay, here is the method. Get window handle returns an opaque handle to this window that uniquely identifies it within this driver instance, and the other one is handles, which returns a set of strings, returns a set of window handles which can be used to iterate over all open windows for this WebDriver instance by passing switch to WebDriver.options.window. So what it means is, I had a window 1 opened up another window 2, 3, 4. So when I say window.get driver, it will give me the handle to this current window. But when I say driver.get window handle, it will give me handle to all the windows plus this window also. So if I have to switch to, so if I clicked on the main window, my control is still on the main window. I have to transfer control to child window. So I will say driver.switch to, and then window name I will give. So that's the story. So once you have switched to the window, then it is the same programming. Then close that window and come back, switch back to this, and then that's what it is. So let's understand this concept here. So I opened this, I maximized it, I clicked on this, then I got the handle. So when I say get handle, it will return handle to the current window. Alright. So after that I said get handles. It will return all the handles including current window also. And then I defined an iterator. I started iterating that. Puneet, you read on net, or I'll send you example how does iterator work. Just read about it. Now I will say that if that main window is not equal to, I have said exclamation here, if it is not equal to child window, then switch to that window. Driver dot switch to window, which window? The child window. And once I have switched to the child window, which is this one, then what I say, driver dot find element by, it's the same story. Okay, then I do whatever I want to do, click, and then I close it. After I do what I wanted to do, I close it, and then I again switch back to main window. So that is about handling the pop-ups. Is it clear? Okay, I will do one thing, I will send this code to you, please go through it, and then we will move on to next topic.
So we can directly handle by using this command, right? Driver to switch to window करके वो करने की जरूरत है क्या? अपने जो string जो handles करते हैं multiple windows more than one रहेगा तो handles करना पड़ेगा.
Handles, yes. See, if you say get handle, it will return you handle to the current window.
Main window.
Yes. If you say handles, and if there is no pop-up, it will not return anything. But it also returns, handles also returns current plus children. Okay, that is why I have put this check, that if it is not main window, then only switch, that exclamation mark is there. Okay, so let me send this code to you, try it out.
पोस्ट लिखा तो टेस्ट एंजिन में डायरेक्ट पोस्ट लिख सकते हैं. हम कैसे thread dot select करते हैं?
Oh, that is my method. Okay. Basically, what I have done is it was happening very fast, so I wanted to slow it down. In the next class, we are going to look at explicit and implicit wait. That is a very important topic. We will look at that in the next class. But for now, I had put pause. So,
fluent wait.
Yeah. Yes. All three we will look at in the next class.
Wait करने का means there are four types we can means one is sleep thread dot sleep and other are like wait.
Generally we don't use thread dot sleep. That is not the right way. I have just once we cover implicit and explicit wait and fluent wait, don't make use of thread dot sleep. We will come to that topic in the next class. Okay. So I have sent the I've sent the code to you. Go through it and see, pop-up is basically, there are three types of pop-up which we saw, right? One is just, it will say where you can only click OK, one is OK and cancel, and another one is where you can give input. So we had seen all those three, where you say driver dot switch to alert, and if it is accepting data, it will say send keys, yeah, whatever you want to do. So three types of that. Pop-up is this which we just saw. Alright. So next what we are going to do is, as a part of this course, we are also going to learn how to do framework development. Okay. Now we are going to look at first data driven framework. So what is data driven framework? One second, let me take up this example or this guys, there is one very nice group which is being maintained by somebody, I don't know who. I will just search for Selenium users group. It has a lot of good questions. I mean, if you actually want to run Selenium, then join this group. It has like people across the world asking questions, answers, and all that. So there is one scenario here: how to test 1000+ user login credential in Excel sheet. So this, keeping this as a reference point, we are going to look at what is a data-driven testing. So let me take a very small example wherein suppose you want to test a login into your application for 10, 20, 100, 1000 users. I mean, it could be possible that you are doing load testing or something. So in that case, you might want to log in with so many users. So one way is that as we have been now doing in Selenium, that we find that element and we say send keys, and then all of that is hard coded. Hard coding is not a very good way to do it, right? Tomorrow the user will change, or some things will definitely change. So what you can do is that you can come up with an approach of writing a data driven testing, wherein you could read data from somewhere and post it into your test cases and then run the test cases. Now the driving force between data driven testing is that sometimes or rather very often data changes, so it is not a really very good idea to test it with hard coding the values. Plus another problem can be that when you write, let's say you people are having on average some experience, and you wrote this script and then you know how to run it and all that. So what you can do is you could create a kind of a framework or a design wherein you could put or your design will be in such a way that your programs reads data from Excel sheet and executes it using a single command. So what happens in that case is maybe a fresher joins in. So you could ask the fresher to create Excel sheet with username and password and tell him the command that this is how the test case it needs to be executed. So it gives you a lot of flexibility also, plus you can change data without actually touching the code, and all those things comes into picture. Okay, so we are going to look at two approaches wherein we will look at TestNG parameterization, plus how do we read data from an Excel sheet and do the testing. So coming to the code, let's say I have, this is my test case. I'll open this here. Okay, this is again TestNG. Now as I told you, there are some annotations which I will cover, there are some annotations which you will have to go back and learn by yourself. So you will see that this is a method. Okay, this returns an object array, two-dimensional array. Okay, and two-dimensional array, it has a row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Alright, but I have also used an annotation called data provider. Okay, now fine. So what it is, I will explain to you it in a little while. Now before test is a method which runs before any test case is executed. So I have created instance of Firefox, and I have opened this URL. So let's see what is happening in this URL. I will go here, I will open this, and so something like this comes up. So basically now what I want to do is I want to test this particular application for different kind of data. So if I were using the usual approach that I have data 1, data 2, then I have so many test cases 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 100. Instead what I have done is I have created a test data which has all this data, and in the test case, which is a parameterized test case, which accepts data provider equal to this, which is nothing but this method. So there are 4 rows here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this test case will now run how many times? 4 times. And what it is doing? It is doing simple Selenium automation. So what it is doing, don't worry about inside of this, but the focus here is that I have created a data provider annotation, and that method's data I am using here, right? So this is a cleaner approach in terms of executing this test and having 4 set of data passed to it. So after that we will see what it is doing. Driver.find element. So this is hide CMS. So basically it is entering data here and here. So you will see before we come to that. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 arguments are 4 in a particular though there are 4 entries. So they map to this argument height, weight, BMI and category. So they will be mapped to this, and I am just sending. So I am saying send key of height, send key of weight. Alright, and then I am doing assertion. Is it okay? So if I run this test case now, what will happen? It will put in data here, put in data here, and it will click on calculate. Then it will say your BMI is, and it will show some category. And I am verifying through Selenium whether my category, what is expected and actual is right, which I am doing through this particular piece of code, assertion. Does it make sense? Yes? So this is called data driven testing. Now this is the way wherein I have read from data provider annotation, right? I could also read it from Excel sheet and do this. So let's see if we have another example to look at. So this is CSV test data. It is reading from data.csv. So let's open data.csv. CSV. Okay, it's not there. I'll check where it is. So it reads from this constructor, BMI calculator, same thing it is doing. 1 second, I'll just check where data.csv is. It is basically a CSV file. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll mail this file to you, and you can check it out. So I will send these 2 pieces of code to you. Please read this code and run it and try to understand it.
सर CSV फाइल में जो डेटा रहेगा उसमें जैसे सपोज यहाँ पे आपने जो एंट्रीज दी थी हाइट वेट और हाइट वेट एंड ऑल मींस वो पर्टिकुलर रो के बाद मतलब उसमें कुछ स्पेस नहीं रहेगा ना CSV फाइल में.
1 second. You are referring to CSV file?
फाइल में क्या डेटा रहेगा मतलब जो हमारा इनपुट डेटा
let's do one thing. Try this one. I'll search for that on my machine and I will go through it.
Means, but you have given that data provider
yeah, so this is data provider.
उसमें CSV फाइल में यही रहेगा ना मतलब 160, 45, 70.
That you could have put any data. See, I can change this data here. This is the data I wanted to do testing for. This is your input data. In the CSV file you could have different set of data for testing. So either this or
as per our application we have
yes, then it will be this only. So the thing is this, that there is a CSV reader class will be there. If I go, CSV reader will be there. So okay, do one thing, let's go through this. I'll find the CSV file and then we'll open and discuss it. So I'll call it DDT, data driven testing, and I'll attach a file. Okay guys, please try it out. I will send this CSV program to you people, try it by yourself. So again, the approach here is, as I told you, there is nothing called Selenium involved. I mean, not much is involved, only send data is there, rest is all programming. So if you see, there is a method called CSV reader. CSV reader is provided by com.opencsv. Okay, now where does this come from? If I look at com.csv, Control Shift T, it is coming from OpenCSV. So do I have the OpenCSV? Alright, so again, in order to read CSV file, there are some APIs available. That dependency is taken care of by this one, this entry. So after that, if I say that this is the data CSV file, and I say CSV reader and give the file location as a argument to that constructor, then, and after that, if I say reader.read all, it will read the whole data as a string array, a list. It will read it as a list which has string array. So this is a row and this is the entire list. So there are 4 rows. So is it, oh, this is not visible, one second. So I say this, I pass the argument as the CSV file, and then when I say read all, so it returns me a list of string array, where each string array is a row and this list is the 4 rows. So let me go back here. So if I go here, these are 4 rows. Each row is a string array. Alright, so again it's about programming and nothing else. Again I have to go back and look at the documentation for CSV reader, and that's how it is.
Sir, वो जो CSV reader आपने define किया है, तो means in document it is mentioned there वो कौन से packet से import हुआ है,
नहीं, see, you can say Control C, Control Shift T करोगे, so you will see that it brings up this CSV reader here. T. So, and if I hover on this here, it will show me open CSV hyphen. Even I did not remember, so I looked at that. Then I checked here open CSV, and then I went to form.xml and I saw that there is a open CSV. Okay, Ram? Fine.
सर वो जो डॉक्यूमेंट है अपना रेफर करने के लिए उसमें भी वो मेंशन होगा ना?
Which document? कौन सा?
The document for we refer for Selenium.
No. So this is different. Selenium documentation is different. Apache POI will be different, and this will be different. So you can simply Google this. It's generally very easy to find. So let's say I Google OpenCSV documentation. So here it is. So all that which you needed is available here. Okay. So we will then try to cover something else also for today. Apache POI we have, test ng we have seen. more than enough.
तो कितने